Ready to start installing the clutch. So this is what it is, the center force clutch. There's the part number. I pulled it apart. It's clutch, flywheel, everything. I pulled it apart and put it in order here. The important parts, there's little spacers that go in here. I'll show you as we go along. But these red tabs need to remain aligned. And then of course there's torque sequences and everything else. This being an LS motor, this is the little warning tag that's on the block. Sealer must be applied to the crankshaft. So I have gone through and put some ultra red on the nice mess on the threads, and kind of got that on there, and we'll see how this goes. Well, we'll let you know as we make some progress here. So flywheel's torqued in, 3 steps to 82 foot-pounds. Again, don't forget to seal those bolts. So this kit gives you 3 different pilot bearings, and you've got to try to figure out which one is which. And by this, it looks like you just put a straight edge across and measure the distance out that the piece protrudes. I'm pretty positive I'm over 1 inch. So let's go measure it. I took I just laid down the transmission. See if I can do this. Set this rig down. And I'll show you what they're after here. So ultimately, you just put this up like this and measure out, and I am 15/16 of an inch. 15/16. So that calls out pilot bushing position A. Now, one other thing I'm going to do before I put that in is let's just be sure it is the correct size. Okay, so let's just slide it over the old shaft. Make sure it fits upright. Yep, perfect. So it's already got a little bit of wheel bearing grease in there. I'll probably put a little bit more, not too much. Thing you got to be also careful about is these LFs have a they have an oil plug back here, right behind this. So you got to be a little careful of that. When you're applying these, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're causing a bunch of hydraulic pressure back there where you could disrupt that cap. So, if all things are right with the universe, this should slip right in there and everybody's going to be happy. So I'm going to install this and I'll bring you back. Okay, pilot bearings in. That went in a little meaner than I like to see. I had to use my clutch alignment tool, and I just put a little washer underneath the bushing here and use that to tap it in. You know, it's a brand new crankshaft. It's never had one. So I sanded it a little bit, just kind of made sure it was super clean, spread a little red grease in there, and went for it. It went in okay. Didn't feel like I was destroying anything, but like I said, I usually those tap in, especially back in the old days when they were bronze. I used to tap right in nice, and it was never a big deal. But I know these are all new parts. So anyway, that's in. Now I'm going to start putting in the discs. So next step, with the red tab still pointed out, you're going to want to line that up with the red tab on the flywheel. You sandwich together, make a sandwich. start with the first clutch disc, then the intermediate plate, and then the second clutch disc. And then you just slide this all together. Normally I wouldn't use this plastic alignment tool, but with 2 discs, I don't believe my standard alignment tool will work. So I'm just going to put it together with this, and all you do is you get your pilot bearing lined up first. See if I can do this with one hand. Then you line up your vibration pins, and that's it. Everything slips in, red mark on red mark. Pins are all lined up on the little rattle plates, here and here, here and here. I got my little spacers on each stud. Now, it's also important to remember, as you're putting this together, as you put together each clutch surface, each metal surface that a clutch is going to mate to, that you clean it. Either brake cleaner or acetone, or in my case I use paint prep. Same thing. And now I'm ready for the pressure plate. So I'm going to get that ready to put on there. And again, I'm going to clean it first, but then just line up the red mark on this side, put my 6 bolts on, and then carefully go through the torque sequence. Now, this is a little looser than I like with this plastic tool, so once I get it starting to snug up, I'll center this. Just make sure I have it as close to the center as I can get it, and then everything should be good for when I put the tranny on. All torqued up to 38 pounds in a crisscross pattern. I did put a little bit of blue Loctite on each nut. It should be good to go. My alignment tool slides in and out easily. I usually don't like to take that out until right before I slide the transmission in. But yeah, that looks good. So there's your double clutch, double disc clutch. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. I've never used this particular brand. I like the look of the Flywheel. It's nice and light. It's not stupid light, so the car is not going to be like a Maraca, but it will, manage a double clutch. A dual disc clutch. So let's see what happens. I can't wait to try it. So anyway, next I'm going to start working on the hydraulic throwout bearing, I guess, has to go in next. And we'll see where that gets us. Well, this may have came to my first screeching halt moment. Okay, so this is a GM throwout bearing, hydraulic throwout bearing. Here's the part number. Great, no problem. So it had in it this crazy little quick connect thing. I actually have the other end of this in the McLeod kit. But I want to run just a regular AN4. I don't want to mess around with that. So I put the, you got to drop this pin out. Use one of these guys by Russell. Of course, it comes in a package of 2, naturally. Clutch fitting universal AN4, and just slide it in there, put the roll pin back in, and everything's fine. Then this is the bleeder that comes with the GM setup, and I want or need a remote bleeder, so I don't want to be messing around inside the inside the clutch housing. So I got this kit here, which is a remote bleeder kit. This is the AN4 adapter, and a no fit, different size. So I'm gonna have to figure this out and see what I got to do to get either the right fitting or the right kit or something for this throwout bearing. So that's gonna cause a delay. unfortunately, because I was in pretty good shape here, literally getting ready to put this onto the transmission housing, which I'm still going to do just so I can make sure everything else works and get ready to install it. Now, this is a little different than the ones I'm used to. Basically, this just has a spring that keeps the throwout bearing up against the pressure plate, and then the hydraulics push it from wherever it relaxes out to its working pressure. The old ones we used to use were self-retracting, and then you just had to space them off the fingers a little bit. So I'm not familiar with this type, but it's what everybody's using, so I don't think it's a big deal. Keeps you from having to shim it all out, I guess. But I'm gonna check my distances anyway once I bolt this up to the bell housing, make sure everything is of the right distance and it's going to engage properly. But that's a bummer. I was cruising right along here, doing good, everything's fitting, everything's working, no problems, and bam, slam on the brakes. So, oh well, is what it is. Modern day hot rodding, right? So anyway, I'm gonna try to put this on over there. I'm gonna throw the old bleeder back in just to keep it from leaking all over everything, and see what I have to do. So after a little more research, this is clearly an M8 remote bleeder, so you can see that it just passes it right through, where this is an M10 bleeder. So it seals off against this surface. Unless you crack it open, then it comes out the hole. So I've got limited options here. I think what I'm going to have to do is go try to find this part, but in an M10 instead of the M8. So yeah, that's gonna put an end to the tranny install for this weekend, because I'm sure nobody around here is gonna have that part. Forgive the noise. I've got stuff bouncing off the roof all day. We have the remnants of Hurricane Lee going by, and I've been getting pelted constantly on the roof of the building here. So had no idea there was that much stuff in the sky, but it's all coming down. Anyway, yeah, so all in all, good stroke of business done, I guess. I can't complain. I've run into one piece where I didn't have everything figured out just right, apparently. And the real kicker is I've had this stuff around forever. Months I could have test fitted that. Should have known. But anyway, I'm waiting for parts on the steam vent. Now I'm going to be waiting for parts for the clutch master cylinder. I did test the clutch slave cylinder, and the way you do that is you push it all the way in and measure all the way in against this surface. Once you get your depth, then you measure your finger depth from the mating surface on the back of the motor. And I have a 1/4 inch, which is ideal. So it's supposed to be between an 1/8 slack and 3/8, and that gives your clutch master cylinder, clutch slave cylinder, enough room to work once you bleed it out. So I'm right in the ballpark. So right in the middle. So that's great. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up, get out of here before a massive tree falls on my head, and what I'll do from here on is I'll go get those parts on order and then figure out what I gotta do to get this wrapped up. But I'm very close, that close. So unfortunately, that's where I'm at.